am XL the Beast. I'm a singer, MC, songwriter, musician, actor, father of 3 kids, semi-good husband, loyal friend, and I don't know, somebody you would call if you had a problem.
Where are you from?
I am from the beautiful state of Massachusetts. I live in southern Massachusetts now, almost towards the South Shore.
How long have you been making music?
Probably say like 40 years. I started when I was 5 or 6. Picked up an instrument at home. Family was pretty musical. My father, brilliant man, a musician. His whole family was musicians. He was of Italian descent, and my mother was Scottish. My father would play a lot of Italian music. He played a lot of classical music, and he played the accordion. His brother played the accordion. His father played the accordion. His 3 of his 5 sons played the accordion prior to marriage. And my mother on the other side of the spectrum, she listened to Motown. She listened to surf music. She listened to disco and some rock and roll, a little bit of country. So my first introduction was watching my father play his accordion when he came home. His enjoyment was cooking for the family, keeping a garden, and music. I grew up hanging around watching him do that. And I wanted to emulate my father because he was the best man I ever knew, and he was my hero, still is. And he got me a little toy accordion, and I started playing it. He took me to get lessons, and I took to it like that. I had damn near perfect pitch. I had a natural ear for music. When I was probably 13 years old, I started competing as a musician, as an accordionist. And it's funny because people look at me like accordion, but it was the stuff I was playing was like Mozart, Beethoven, Franz Liszt, Scheherazade, Rachmaninoff, stuff like that. We were like really complicated pieces for a person of my age, and I was in an accelerated division at a really young age, and I whooped a lot of older kids' asses. It was pretty epic. So he had me when he was 52. So he was a stud. You know what I mean? He really was, man. My dad, hats off to him. He was the man. But he had me at 52, and he had already raised 7 kids. So he had been through like World War II, and he had been through the Great Depression. So he really had a lot of insights about explaining what really mattered in this life. So he taught me a lot of really beautiful things about music.
How long have you been acting?
I mean, we talking like personal life or like professionally getting paid or doing a real film? Like, I think I've been acting like my whole life in one way or another. But as far as professional acting, my first foray into acting was about 10 or 12 years ago. Auditioned for Gone Baby Gone. I had no idea how any of that shit worked. And I thought that they were like wasting my time. These people like had me like come back like a whole bunch of times to read for the same part. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I was thinking about like all the money that I was losing by not being at work. And like I had no idea like how fucking lucky I was to be getting called back. So yeah, about then, it took me 3 interviews to get a slot in a film, a major motion picture with a speaking role, and then I was able to get a lead in an amazing film that Mr. DL wrote and directed and shot in As Thick as Thieves. I had a speaking role my 3rd time around in Black Mass, and that was with Johnny Depp. It was an amazing experience. When I was there, I had friends that were in the film too because they pulled a lot of local guys in. My man Big Shug was in it. My scene was opposite Corey Stahl, which was a lot of fun. When I was there in that film, it was really interesting because I learned a lot about myself as an actor and about how film sets work. Yeah, they pay you a lot of money doing that, man. It was pretty wild. I couldn't believe they paid me $500 to try on some clothes. I was like, you people are crazy.
Do you prefer rapping or acting?
They both serve like a different need in me. They're both so vastly different that it's hard for me to give an accurate answer on that. They both come really natural to me. Like I feel like they're both in my wheelhouse so far as a strength. I think that I can assimilate and really get into a character fairly easy just because of life experience and being around so many different types of people. And the only reason that is because of my music. Music gives me a sense of gratification. It's something that I created, something that I own, something that I write. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just, like, the performing aspect of it is almost like secondary. So I would probably lean towards music, but I don't know if that's accurate. The acting, I've had more fun in the last 10 years doing the acting stuff that I've done than I have my music, but I haven't done acting nearly as long as music. They both feed a different demon. You know what I mean? They both feed, you know, a part of my ego, and you know, they both feed like a need in my person to be creative. And the things I can do as an actor, I don't really do in my music. So it's I don't know. It's almost a tie. But you know, if the tie had to go to the runner would probably be music, but just because I have a larger sampling size of doing that. But I'd like to do more acting.
Do you think entertainment is the hardest profession to remain sober?
I think being a fucking bartender is probably the hardest profession to stay sober in, y'all. I mean, here's the thing with that. I mean, I imagine that it's not like as easy as like an accountant. When you look at like the drug use that they did in like the 60s and 70s, kind of pushed the limits of their creativity and expanded their mind. But the whole thing about being sober is it's really within the individual, in my opinion. It doesn't matter what line of work you're in or, you know, what you're doing. If you got a problem with booze or drugs, you know, you're gonna find them, you know, in an office job just as easy as you're gonna find them at a nightclub. Wherever you go, you take yourself. And if you're the problem, it doesn't matter whether if you're a, you know, a magician or a musician or, you know, an actor or, you know, a member of government, your problems are going to follow you wherever you go.
What are some of your biggest musical inspirations?
Going back to my dad, my father always taught me about to look for things that were beautiful. I gotta say, like a lot of the early classical music that I heard, Beethoven, Liszt, Strauss, stuff like that. Like a lot of that music inspired me to want to, because there was something so beautiful about it. It made me feel a certain kind of way. It wasn't like, oh, I like the song. It did something inside me, and it made me, at the time, want to be a better student. Otis Redding and Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway. God, hearing those guys like dump their soul out for everybody to see, like to be that vulnerable, made me want to have a better understanding about how they got to a place where life elicited such a response from them. I heard the Fat Boys, and then I heard Run DMC, and then I heard LL Cool J, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how, but I want to do that. Motorhead, Lemmy from Motorhead especially.
What are some of your biggest film inspirations?
Film inspirations, shit. I watch a lot of fucking movies. Film inspirations, on the waterfront, Lawrence of Arabia, Alfred Hitchcock, Hour. He did TV show, and he would have like an hour long show. It's like 35 minutes without the commercials. You get the DVD, and for me, pound for pound, the actors and actresses that were in those movies, those short, like 1 hour film specials, he would use the same one. Like he would get in a run where he would use like a lot of the same people for a season or like 5 or 6 episodes. And there was no green screens, there was no special effects really to speak of. They were really acting. And as the older I got, I could look back at those actors that could go from week to week, and you weren't allowed to remember them in a light like that they were the week before, and they just came back and completely redefined your perception of who they were. That was just amazing to me. So the like those short films, and then probably gonna say another big one was The Outsiders. God, what was it? Warriors, The Godfathers, obviously, because they were just an unbelievable like story, and they were told beautifully.
What is your favorite genre of music to listen to?
I will, I'm not one of those people that says everything, because that's not true. I will get stuck on music sometimes for 2 weeks to a month. I could get stuck on like Motorhead for a month, And then I could get stuck on like Pink Floyd for a week and the Doors for a week. A lot of like 90s, late 90s, early 2000s hip hop. The reason is too is I've got twin 5-year-old daughters. So when I ride around in the car, like my ingestion of hip hop has to be mostly instrumental because I want to hear the beats and get inspired by it. But mostly everybody I listen to is pretty foul mouthed. So I gotta want my 5-year-old daughters going into kindergarten and be like, what the fuck did you say? You know what I mean? And just like, oh God, it's a nightmare. So old school R&B.
What was your biggest missed opportunity?
Oh man, I gotta categorize them now? Holy shit. Wow, you want me to put a number behind them? That's my whole thing now is I don't really look at a lot of things like even missed opportunities anymore. I just kind of think that it's not like all that, granola, like peace, crinkle, hippie bullshit where everything happens for a reason, but there's definitely an element of that. If I had to break it down and say the biggest single missed opportunity was not getting the role of Cheese in Gone Baby Gone. I think had I landed that role and me and Slane went in that film together, I think that, we both would have shown out pretty good. And it probably would have led me down a little bit different of an avenue where I would have probably been considered for more work and I probably would have chased it more aggressively. Like I had no idea that like I was lucky to be there like that. Like I had beaten out everybody and then it ended up being me and then the Haitian kid that they picked for the film. And in the book, Cheese, real name was Sven Cheese Alleman, and he was a 250-pound, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, jive-talking Swede. And I had that rap down, Jack. I had that shit cold-blooded. I was in there, it's a true story. I was in there the second time they had me in, they brought Ben Affleck in, and they brought another executive producer in. And a lot of people, I don't know, maybe be shook, but like the week before, we had just opened up for Nas. This place was packed. When you go out on stage, that's pressure. That is pressure because everybody's watching. The other people's management team is watching. The fans are watching. People in your community and your crew are watching. You don't want to, when you're on Broad Street, you don't want to fuck up. So that was pressure to me. So when he was there, it wasn't taken as any disrespect, but I wasn't fazed by it. It's just another guy right here. Like I'm the one in the hot seat. I was just opening up for Nas. Like this is like fucking literally no pressure, So they changed the script on me, and they were like, "Oh, do you need a couple minutes?" I'm like, "No." And I'm like, I can rap on stage for like an hour with memorized material. This is easy work for me right here. This is whatever. Let's go. So I did really good. I left and came back. The next time I came back, part of the scene called for me to pull out a gun, take a hit of a pipe, smoke some weed, and pull out a gat. So I had my man take the firing pin out of his strap and empty it out. And because I didn't know like you're supposed to just pretend, so I wanted to really go over the top with it, right? So I had the strap in my pants, and then I took a Newport and I crushed it up and put it in the pipe. And when the part came, I pulled that shit out of my pocket and I smoked the pipe and I blew it and then I pulled the strap out and they were all like, it was pretty great. And so that was pretty excellent. And Ben was like, yo, you fucking killed it. You know what I mean? He's like, it was really good. And come to find out, it was down to me and that guy. Like, I had beaten out thousands of people. And at that moment, I didn't know the importance of that. Like, I didn't think it was really significant. All I know is I didn't get the fucking part. I was like, well, fuck you wasting my time. I had no idea. I should have been really grateful and used that as a mark off. Like, hey, dummy, pay attention. Maybe you should try out for more movies. You know what I mean? So that's probably the single biggest missed opportunity in my career.
What's the difference between how you were raised and the way you raise your kids?
I'm not half the man my father was, or my mother. Capital punishment. My house, you get your ass whooped, and he got out of line. We were boys too, my sister, she didn't catch any beatings, but my brother and I, we caught him pretty good. My brother got the lion's share of him because he was a fucking human hurricane. I think for my son, especially, my namesake, his mother and I are divorced, and I've been out of that house for like 11 years. The difference is that I'm not present in his home. For my daughters, it's completely different because they're girls and they run shit, right? So my wife and my daughters, they run shit. Like, don't believe the hype. see me and like, oh, yeah, XO. Yeah, no, listen. In my house, the girls rule. They rule everything. I think the difference is too is that like I'm probably a little more expressive of my love and how I feel for them. My father was, came from an era where, men were strong and silent.
Is this PC culture ruining entertainment?
Yes. Absolutely. You crazy? Look, anytime an artist or a comedian or an actor has to trim, cut, or compromise their original vision because people are unwilling to accept that expression as a person's expression at that moment, then it's a problem.
What is your best fan moment?
Yeah, I remember that clear as day. It was 2000. California, creators, me, Warren, Jason, G Squared. We were playing this shit called Skate Jam 2000. There was like 30,000 people there. We got to come on after Rozelle, which was bugged me out. We were going on, and then Meth and Red, and then Snoop and Dre. And this is 2000, so like the internet is kind of clicking, but it's not like now, like where you can just go stream somebody's music. Like you had to go hear about that shit or catch a video, and then you went and bought like a CD. You know what I mean? I was on stage rocking. We were in the middle of our second song, and I'm in the middle of my verse, and I look down, and there's a kid in the front of the stage, and he is going bar for bar with me on my rap. And I'm like, this kid, in that moment, I knew exactly what took place. This kid had my music, he studied my music, he knew my music. You wanna know how I know? Because I was that kid. That kid knew my shit, and it blew me away. I nearly stopped rapping. Like I was so floored by it, but I kept rapping, and I gave the kid dap, and he was all happy. And in that moment right there, that was a really humbling moment for me. That was my best fucking fan moment right there. So shout out to who that kid is if he ever sees this. That meant a lot to me.
Who would you like to work with?
Redman. That list of mine has been like filled in a lot already. You know what I mean? Like the people that I really respected and really wanted to work with, I've had a chance to do that. You know, from like Sean Price to Rock This Monster to Shabam Sadiq to Sky Zoo, and I would absolutely love to work with Sting and Thomas Dolby.
What was your first job?
My first paying gig was the year before I was going into 6th grade. I got a work. I was 6th grade. I was going into. I had to get a work note, permission to work as a minor, and they sent me to the schools where I was going to school. And I had to clean the schools with the custodians. For 2 months, I cleaned windows, I cleaned, mopped floors, swept areas, wiped down shit, ran the buffer. I was a big kid. And then the grossest shit was I had to clean the grease trap in the cafeteria. And they gave us no gloves and shit back then. They were like, just send it. I was back there like, ready to puke and shit. It was foul. But I made like $150 over like 2 months. And my mom did it to teach me a lesson. And she's put the money aside for me. And probably keep me out of trouble too, because we were at that point where we were starting to get into some bullshit. So she kept my ass working. So that was my first paying gig with a check.
What was your worst tour experience?
That was in the 90s for sure. I was on the Cypher tour with my man Jeff and M for the group Cypher. And we were headed out to Toronto. And he asked me to meet them in Toronto, and I was in Boston. And he's like, I think we're going to have some problems up there because there were some people in the 5% Nation up there that had misinterpreted one of his lyrics to his single. He had a big single up there. It was all over Much Music, which is like the Canadian equivalent to like MTV. We were getting a lot of pub up there. And they had misinterpreted his verse, which was the first seeds of the earth heed the worth of my verse. It was basically him saying, listen, I'm a visitor here in this game, and I leave it up to you to decide whether I belong here. Apparently none of those fucking guys could like either listen or read, or they were just looking for a problem. So the members of the group at that time weren't what you would call like they weren't goons at all. I was the goon. And we had a couple other guys that were like quasi goons, but G had asked me to bring some goons with me. And we went. When that night we were at the show ended, and we were on stage, and I see the dudes rush the front of the stage, ready to get it on. The two goons with me, I said to go around the back of the club, grab some bottles and pool cues, and meet me in the middle. Because we're gonna go down, it's gonna go down. And it was like 12, 15 guys. Because I remember I jumped off the stage, and I could just look in the kids' faces, they were like, fuck's this dude doing? I jumped right in, I'm like, is there a problem here? What's the problem, fellas? And the other two guys I was with are on the stage, and the other two goons are coming around back. And I'm like, it don't matter if there's 3 or 4 of them. I go, we're gonna get fucked up in here. And I looked at that dude, and he looked at me for like 30 seconds. Those 30 seconds felt like 30 minutes. And then, blink, he fucking blinked, and I saw it. I was like, oh, I smell pussy. I was like, oh, I got him. I knew I had him. And then he's like, well, what the fuck did your man say? I'm like, all right, he don't want to beef now. He want to talk. And then so it went from like the worst experience to a decent experience. We squashed the whole shit. Nobody got punched. Nobody got stabbed. I didn't get stomped out or killed. And then we ended up going to the bar and having drinks for my 21st birthday. And then when we were on the way out, though, I ended up slapping the kid on the way out because he said some stupid shit to me, and I slapped him, and he fell down, and his girlfriend was crying and shit, and we left. That's the end of that.
Do you remember your first verse?
Jesus, no. I think it's kind of like a fucking car accident. You know, when people are in really bad car accidents and they survive, they're like, I remember everything up to the crash. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that shit was so ass cheek. It was really bad. I might be able to remember. Fuck no, man. No, the first fucking verse I really wrote, never put down, was so terrible. I blocked that out of my memory. I kind of remember like my first creator's verse. That's about it. But no, I forgot my first verse.
Did you have any other aliases before XL?
Oh, hell yes, I did. I actually didn't give myself the name XL or XL the Beast. G Squared gave me that name. Okay, so my first rap incarnation was, are you ready? The Lyrical Sniper. It was during the era where everything had to have the lyrical before it, so you weren't faking the funk, right? If you just called yourself Sniper, in that minute, somebody was gonna test you on that. You're not a fucking sniper. You're a liar. You never sniped anything in your life. So I was like, no, I'm a lyrical sniper. You know what I mean? It's like lyrical guns, lyrical. It was like, oh Jesus. Then I was D, because you know my government name starts with a D. Then finally, like G Squared was like, yo, I'm like, I need a good rap name. He's like, yeah, you do. And he's like, XL. I'm like, what do you mean XL? He's like, you're a big fucking guy. He's like, everything about you, your hands, your feet, your fucking voice, your attitude, your ego. He's like, I was like 10 and a half, almost 11 pounds when I was born. I've been big from jump. You know, everything with me is big. I don't have a fucking medium button. So that was where XL came from. And within the last, like, 5 or 6 years, is somebody I really trust musically. He was like, you should call yourself XL the Beast, because XL's boring and hard to find on the internet. So I was like, all right, we'll go with XL the Beast. I don't know, kind of like bored of it now.
What is your writing process?
My writing style is kind of weird. I usually get inspired by a beat. There's like, could be a certain beat is going to take me into a direction. When the instrumental is playing, when the beat is playing, whatever I'm rocking over is playing, it tells a story, and it leads me in a road, and it just kind of comes by itself. A lot of times when I'm writing, actually most of the time, I'll hear the beat, and then I shut it off. I don't want to hear it because I store it up here, like I have it on a loop in my head. I don't want to hear it. I just start writing.
Who is the GOAT?
Big Juan might be one. He inspired me probably more than any other rapper from anywhere else. It was Julius Harrow.
Where can people find you?
Usually at my house. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me at XL Boston on Twitter. At XL Boston on Instagram. I think it's at XL Boston. I'm pretty sure. My fan page on the book is XL the Beast. And pretty soon we're gonna have I'm developing a podcast right now. And the podcast is called Secrets and Lies. And I will have that on every platform there is. So that's where you can find me. I'm on Twitter a lot, a little bit on IG, a little bit on the book. You know what I mean? I'm kind of old. I don't do like the snap face and all that silliness because, I just don't care.